Continuation of the same subject. 6th title and Contemplation. Whoever will not love you, my love and my life, will never have in himself either repose or peace, for there is no repose but yours, and no peace but your peace, and there is neither repose nor peace upon the earth. All is but vanity and affliction of spirit, for one cannot say that the repose of the wicked, if they have any, is true repose. The repose that comes from seeing and taking the best of what can be had and enjoying it is only bestial, but much less genuine than bestial repose. For the wild beasts always find what they desire and covet in the ardor of their appetite, inasmuch as that is their end. But the unhappy man, of whom we are speaking to you, my love, for not loving you, is effectively more miserable than the brutes, given that his repose is scarcely of longer duration than the moment, finding always and from one moment to another, outside and inside, far too many things that are contrary to his appetite, and thus, poor and miserable, he goes away, using and consuming his sad life in a feigned and simulated repose which he says and believes to be such. Those who love you, apprehending all this from a great distance, see it and know it as a condition much worse than hell. For this is how they feel about such persons who do not repose in you entirely, esteeming them, I say, and believing them in that itself to be in a sense, in a condition like to that of the sad and accursed damned. I would have quite an explanation to make to you about this, my dear life, but you express my sentiments essentially and eminently as you see. It is enough that you see that that is very true. Yes, you know it, my dear life, but why tell you all that, my dear love? Ah, my life, it is in order, in deploring essentially and before your majesty, the miseries, melting and being consumed with regret over them, abhorring human life, not in itself or as such, but because of the total dispersions of this life made by those who have voluntarily, holding and esteeming their own life and their own soul, but especially their soul and its life as nothing, which is something more deplorable than one can think. Alas, my love, you permit all, thus you let all do and live as they wish, think and feel what they wish, so as to be lost or saved if they wish. And it is in that the man is exceedingly unhappy who, having the choice between good and evil at his disposal, elects evil for himself as his own good, taking shadows instead of the light that you are, you who illumine every man, coming into the world, though not loving the world. This is why those who choose evil live in thick shadows of the flesh, and like foolish beasts that are without wisdom and understanding. But of what use is it, my love, to linger so long on these miserable ones, to whom your Christ and your salvation are bitter as gall and even death itself? What keeps me so strongly in this lament is my sorrow over seeing you dishonored, scorned, neglected, and totally left like something that is nothing, by such an accursed mob as I suppose it to have been. And not only are those wicked ones the object of my sorrow in you yourself, but also the stupidity and nonchalance of all those whom you have chosen for your special service, wherever they may be. It is, I say, that, my love, which troubles me in yourself and in them more than I can express to you, and as much as you see it, I mean according to very pure and separated reason. Alas, they are continually and by new caresses, more and more invited by you, I mean, without mediation within, to the frequent holy inspirations that you give them to ameliorate their life, in each of their particular actions and in their all. And outwardly, you provoke them to that duly exciting their appetite over what they see being given them by you for their example. Based on this, I say, they comport themselves by love and virtue to live as they do according to their duty. Failing to do this, they are accountable for all that. But let us move on to ourselves and resolve to do our best according to true truth and fidelity according to our all. Let us see to it that we love you ardently, continually, and without ever giving up nor relaxing our loving activity, whether in actions or in sufferings or whatever state we happen to be in. For to do otherwise is to lose track of one's duty toward you, natural and reasonable. In order to practice this to an infinite degree inside and outside of us, it is necessary for us always to keep the fire lit in the manner of blacksmiths, continually putting into it the precious wood of your loving cross, your thorns, your whips, your blood and all yourself, you who have been annihilated, consumed, and dead in the strength and infinite ardor of your love and charity for that in us all. This wood itself is infinitely aromatic in its nature, and infinitely more so being burned in the fire of you loving holocaust offered to the infinite God, your Father, for our eternal redemption. Oh, my love and my life, what should I say to you about this, except that the soul or the man who reflects willfully and with a deliberate intention on the exercises and within the exercises, reasoning and seeing whether they come to him and how they come to him from without and outside, is worth nothing, for if he is subtle so as to be greatly spiritual, he is the worse for it. And that is a great indication that he is neither accustomed nor habituated to the exercise, either of great or of mediocre suffering. Against this, the spiritual person who is truthful and faithful must be on guard. And, in fact, he is very much on guard against very subtle and very light surprises of nature which are in them as quick as the very subtle lightning. It is a great secret to tell you, my love, of a secret desert which, being in itself such as it is, in fact, is the point of the most purified nature and also of the most perfect and exact fidelity of very spiritual, very naked and very simple yet perceptible and sensible love that we owe you. I do not desire to develop otherwise nor to explain, given that it would seem even more rough than it is, though actually it really is that rough, but in the simple nudity of men, it is very subtle and very refined. I know well that those who burn ardently and always actually within the senses, very full, very elevated, and very extended as they are in yourself at the deep enkindling of all their appetite, are very far from that by reason of your loving flow keeping them greatly at a distance from so base and so material a practice which, in all honesty, is not even fitting for good moral such as I suppose them to be. But those who are faithful to their loving interiority/recollection, the vision and enjoyment of which delights them in yourself, beyond and above your gifts, are greatly distant from all reflection, however little and simple it may be. And that is what makes them excellently and perfectly draw themselves away from all that is created, even from your own loving and sensible delights, so as, in this faithful abstraction of theirs, to adhere to you very simply and nakedly, according to very pure spirit above all reason and apprehension on your part, flowing into the senses. For, my love and my life, to see you always and incessantly is what they crave, as being your effective operation of much more eminence and height than your flowing sensible operations within the creature. The reasons for this are very diverse, very noble, and very fitting to each of your operations, so nobly and so diversely operating, now by the flow and within the flow, and now, even for a long time, above all flow to the supereminent state of the same flow, or even, to take it more basically and in baser constitution, of good and holy constitution infused as well as acquired, to see you, I say, and to sustain you patiently is seeing you in any state or constitution whatsoever, is always the best and most useful for the poor creature. However, your perceptible flow, all by itself, enraptures, and makes for excellent contemplation, being such in its operation as I suppose it to be. For to contemplate you, my love, is not to pray easily, nor to throw loving aspirations into you who are, which is a very excellent thing, but it is to have totally surpassed itself, and to be all enraptured outside of the senses, and of all that is created. And thus, and in such a state, totally fixed, attached above all suspension to look at you and contemplate you in your infinite beauty and essence, which makes and contains, all the time of its blessed action, the full paradise on earth. And that is seen and justly believed to be among the greatest favors with which His Majesty has been accustomed often enough to honor and caress your friends, uncovering for them their ineffable and altogether admirable secrets, of which common men are not capable for their distance, not only from matter to pure spirit, but from flesh and material earth to the man excellently deified by God and God by the reciprocal ebb and flow, one from the other and one into the other and in the total transformation of the creature into God, capable in his deity of seeing and hearing from Him and in Him, I mean in God, all that he has heard from God his Father, of which for now he makes ample discovery and largesse in the abundant inebriation of the same creature to all these friends, who, for their reciprocal love towards him, according to the duty of true and perfect fidelity, merited to receive in infusions so profuse and admirable these ineffable riches and gifts, for their luster and their ornament, enraptured as they are within their brilliant and ineffable splendors of love, knowledge, and taste, inconceivable and totally ineffable. And it is thus, my love, that you play with pleasure within your friends, for their sovereign luster and entire accomplishment of your own beauty, riches, sweetness of your light. Within your infinite splendors to the totality of your deity, where they are so plunged and lost, that they have only the body on earth, which has virtually all but become spirit in the continual activity of your rapid flow, which is virtually without its common operations and natural functions, so much is it excellently ennobled by its spirit and subject to it, which, by and in its repletion with this spirit, is as if destitute of its own actions necessary to human life, without possible discernment meanwhile of this or that. Such persons are true seraphim burning with loving delights on the earth of their bodies, without them feeling, in a manner of speaking, the weight and the gravity. So very many of your most intimate friends bear witness to it. The ardent love of these has been more ardent in actively consuming their subject than as spirit communally vigorous in action. Among these, some have greatly surpassed others, in such a way that your love, at the spilling over of its flow, seems to have neither boundaries nor limits, so as to crave, to desire, to do, to endure, to die, even of multiple kinds of deaths. All your holy martyrs are faithful witnesses of this, and an infinite number of others in all states and conditions. So, my love and my life, you most infinite friends admire you greatly at the flow of you whole self poured into all you saints, although in very different states and manners, in very different ways. And who is there who will be able to number the multiplication of your entry into these means and manners? And who will be able either to number the means of the diverse operations of your flow, spilled over into all the highest and lowest powers, and its diverse delights in your intimate friends? Now it is in that, my love and my life, that you are seen to be more mobile than all mobile things, to do all things conform to yourself, and to the effects of your very diverse and innumerable divine operations, making in all one single spirit, one will and one all, by entire effusion of the all in yourself with yourself, being all to all and all one in yourself, from you in all yourself, to be seen and possessed by all, in fullness of fruition and sufficient objective enjoyment, awaiting the surplus, which is much to say and comprehend. But I say that it is to say everything and to comprehend everything in the manner that we understand it, in such a way that it is in this knowledge of ours, this vision and experimental certitude, that we are in our paradise, in the totality of yourself and in the abundance of your simple and unique flow, which enraptures and fills the appetite of your friends, who are always famished and always drinking and eating, or, to say it better, who, although they always full, are always famished. For what they already have, and although they drink and eat with a satiated heart, they remain always with the hunger to drink and eat you to sufficiency and even more, here and then in future glory, wholly otherwise and to the point of overflowing, and nonetheless as much here as they're always athirst and famished for you in the totality of yourself, and always full, even very full to the point of overflowing, and yet very satisfied in your eternity and in their infinitely delightful end and satisfaction which you are to them, and poured into all yourself in operation and manners very conformed and very suitable to your infinite deity, to your goodness and love here, and they're diversely spilled over, according to the diversity of constitutions and states, all conform to the diverse capacities of the subjects who have you. Ah, what a great pleasure it is to the mortal creature to be here lost and fixed as much here as there. If, by the effect of your simple flow, flowing in a mediocre manner to souls of lesser capacity, the apprehension and penetration of this is a very great pleasure. How much better and completely otherwise is the pleasure of your enjoyment, even greater without comparison, in those who are in the sea of your same flow, within the depths of which they go more and more, plunging and losing themselves to the point of your and identity in all yourself, so to speak, remaining nonetheless for always in this total transformation of theirs in their created being, which they do not lose, but ennobled and clothed with your deity in the totality of itself, they are you in your totality, filling without measure, even infinitely, their capacity, which is neither bounded nor limited except by infinity, without diminishment nor possible lessening of your infinite felicity and glory, containing and making rivers in such great number. They all come forth from this glory and go back into it, so as to be only itself in all itself, without possible diminishment of itself, which remains a sea in this glory and for it, all comprised and all penetrated by itself, and filling all in itself without possible comprehension of this, all and totally. And, as I already told you, my love and my life, that itself in the glory, I man in the totality of yourself, is and will be our full paradise in our formal, essential, and accidental beatitude. For the infinite pleasure of the blessed, by redundance of the climax of theirs in their own beatitude, is not to be able to comprehend you more or otherwise. So it is enough for them to be all deities gloriously and happily participating in all fullness of felicity, beyond which your deity is such, in the act of its total fruition, comprehension, and beatitude, is there infinite felicity in itself. But it does not matter so much to us to speculate about this as to perceive it, to contemplate it, and to enjoy it in our simple existence, in the possible manner that you know and work in us, as I expressed it before and elsewhere and totally otherwise. And because we will perhaps be able once again to speak to you, to see you, fixedly stunned at the sight, research, and penetration of the abyss of the subject. As a result, I leave it aside for the time being, to pass on to other things which present themselves to my mind, but which you yourself show me. Perhaps then, my love and my life, men are desirous of knowing what esteem your intimate friends have for themselves, in view of the marvels and the prodigies so admirable that you have worked in each one of them. From their entrance into their way toward you up to their entire consummation in the fire of your infinite love in all yourself, where and in whom they are totally cast away, as I have always told you, and as your Majesty knows. Now it is the truth that your intimate friends esteem that they are the most vile creatures of the whole universe, even that they are nothing at all, are apt for nothing and worth nothing before your infinite Majesty. Such are their sentiments, their vision and their faith, and that, for infinite reasons that they have for all these truths, which are all reduced and contained in their simple vision, knowledge, and faith, as if continually in very true and actual habit, very simple and very extended in them, which counterbalances the activity of their flight yet without lowering it or bowing it down the least bit from its very high supereminence, which you are, who live, move, and act in them as without them, so to speak. And nonetheless, you deify and will deify in the totality of yourself you own flow, and all these successive operations as their own works. Seeing these friends of yours know not what to do nor what to think in order to be totally embraced in you to the point of their total consummation. For feeling themselves to be so strongly loved and so strongly enkindled by your love, all the reasons of love that reason can furnish are nothing to them or a small thing, although they are essential and in love itself, of which you are the essence, the cause, and the form. And all your expeditions, all seen and surpassed, are the very rich and marvelous matter of this love, totally accomplished in its perfection, in the order of the admirable effects and properties that, diversely, indeed very diversely flow from her as so many living sources, and by innumerable canals of your love, as marvelous as it is infinite, and your goodness. In this way, where all is reduced in love, nothing from outside is seen any longer by the appetite, but love makes use of itself, to make itself more similar and conform to its subject, in its same subject and object. And thus it is necessary that the creature should cede and succumb by necessity within the sea of the same love, and this is something absolutely genuine, when one no longer perceives love, nor you, nor oneself. For then, and not sooner, one has passed over to the same love, within which there is yet a great gradation of orders and means, all very conformed to the activity of its delightful divine fire, all, always, and everywhere being always seen and perceived, ineffably ineffable, so to speak, which finally makes by succession of time in the creature entire consummation of any imperfect life, and of all that which, on the part of the creature, was in any manner whatsoever dissimilar to this love. And it is therein, I mean in the totality of yourself, my love and my life, that the creature lives in its very simple subsistence, as without her and for her, but from you and in you, purely and simply.